Love and health form the foundation and pillars that support all that you do to create fulfillment and success in every aspect of your life. Love within us guides our paths while our health enables us to drive forward. The two are inseparable and vital for growth and reaching your fullest potential. Welcome to Love and Health in America with Dr. Doohi Lee, Mary McMahon, and Jens Johnson. Dr. Lee is an international speaker, author, inventor of the Diamond Matrix, and medical director of Advanced Surgical Arts. Mary McMahon is a certified financial planner professional committed to maximizing your financial success. And Jens Johnson, the Mindset Master, is a best-selling author, speaker, mastermind facilitator, and success mindset coach. They are committed to help you succeed by optimizing your health, finances, and relationships. Please join them and explore all the facets of love and health to achieve and live your abundant life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Doohi Lee, Mary McMahon, and Jens Johnson.
Good afternoon. How are you doing? Hope everybody's doing well. I'm Dr. Doohi Lee, one of the hosts of Love and Health in America. Unfortunately, today, Jens can't join us. She has something come up at the last minute, and we miss her, and she's doing well. And I'm here with my lovely and capable co-host, Mary. So today, we've been talking about some interesting thoughts about what's been happening. And since we're in the holiday season, we just got through Thanksgiving, and of course, Christmas is literally around the corner, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with all the shopping that's out there. But we thought we'd spend this time talking about the idea of the holidays, what they mean to everybody, I guess. And certainly we have our own, effects from the holidays, both professionally and personally. And, for the past 2 years, things have evolved quite a bit. Starting with 2019, going through 2020, the first phase of the pandemic, so-called pandemic, and then last year, and then, of course, we're coming through close of 2021. So it's really been 2 full years of really sort of a relentless assault, I think, in all of us, in many different ways, certainly financially, certainly emotionally, family ties, professional, curtailment, businesses going. There's so many things that, have happened, and I think it's going to continue to happen over next year. I don't really see it changing that much, but perhaps with the lessons of the past 2 years, we can, open our eyes wider and really kind of get a better perspective of what's really going in front. But regardless of all that, I think just, I was reflecting on this before the show, and that's kind of like proposed this idea to Mary, because I was just kind of going through my own personal reflections about, what has happened exactly over the past 2 years, and just about my own, personal experiences. Having lost family members, lost close friends, having gone through, 2 years of treating patients, going through their trials and tribulations and trying to get them through. Luckily, I haven't lost any patients, knock on wood, and hopefully I'll continue to do that. But it's been a trying year on so many different levels. And I think that really has given me some pause to think about, okay, what is the holiday? What are the meanings of holidays that we all used to take for granted? We're in Christmas season now. We had a turkey day. Everybody hopefully got together and had a nice meal, and you're working to lose some of the pounds you gained and take that weekend. And now we have this holiday Christmas season coming in. And, we just talked about it from an economic point of view, where so much of the retail business is being done in this few weeks, where so many businesses try to make their income and, have enough to go forward. And so that, I'm sure that's going to be affected. And, with the inflation that has happened, with the current administration, what they've done with the gas pricing, there's so many financial negativity that has happened. And so it's going to be affecting everybody at so many levels. And I was just talking to Mary just before we started. My wife and I went to this little hole-in-the-wall Korean restaurant down the street. They make the best, little Korean pancake. It's unbelievable what they do. So we'll go there. It's our favorite little place. And we ordered our, favorite Korean, galbi, which is short ribs, the LA ribs. And I looked at the menu, I was astounded. We've been there a few weeks, but went there and I was like, oh my God, what happened? The dinner pricing for that ribs went up about 70%. It was amazing how expensive it was. And I kind of looked back and talked to the owners, like, what happened? And he said the pricing of beef went up so much. they actually had absolutely no choice. And and that's just one small little microcosm of, I'm sure, same thing that's happening to so many people. And I see it in the gas pumps. I mean, I put my gas in my car yesterday, and I thought I didn't even fill it up, and it was like $45. Like, oh my God, what happened? So this is something that, we're all going through, and I know in California and other places that it's even more expensive. So I think we're being hit in so many levels, not only the ongoing, this relentless barrage of variants. Now we have the Omicron, who knows what. And, one of my staff asked me, how many do you think we'll have? And I said, oh, well, how many letters are there in Greek alphabet? And I think there are 24 letters in Greek alphabet, so we only barely hit 5. So I think there'll be a few more coming down the pike. So that's been the sort of experience that I've gone through, and it's just really make me. I don't want this to be a downer, podcast, but with the holidays, I always kind of sit back and think a little bit about, okay, what has happened in the past year? What did I do to screw up, which are many, and try to learn from those mistakes and try to formulate a strategy moving forward for the next year, and going through not only this year, but even the year before, because that's kind of, compounded. It's been a very interesting time. I don't need to go into all the little, thoughts that I've had, but certainly just to kind of reflect on, the different processes, because I know, Mary, you went through certainly plenty of your own, experiences and, trials, both personally and professionally, that I'm sure I'm not even aware of, that because, we all live very complex lives. But I thought it might be interesting to kind of sit and talk a little bit about, what it all has meant, and maybe how we can take all this together and put it into a positive bundle, if you will, somehow, and then use that to move us forward in a more productive or more positive 2022. So that's kind of what I've been thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've been in that mode too. I've been very philosophical this year about Christmas. There's the doingness of Christmas. There's also the meaning of Christmas.
Right.
And Christmas is also a time of traditions. And I think it's a remarkable year. 2020 has made it very challenging coming into 2021. I think you're right that 2021 is going to be challenging going into 2022. And I think at this time of the year, I think it's time to step back and reflect on what you really value most about the holiday, and to really celebrate.
Yeah.
And all the people that I've talked to about the holiday so far, everyone is paring down
Yeah. Yeah.
a little bit on, time, the work aspect of, putting Christmas out in your home, decorating your home, the cost of the meal, the cost of gasoline. And I think that it's a very joyous season, and I think it can be a very joyous season when you stay true to what you value.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
and who you love. And I do hope and pray that people do get to travel and be with those that they love. As we were talking earlier, there's never been a time in history where people are so widely located across the globe.
Yeah.
In the time of history, we used to live in extended families.
Right.
And so Christmas...
Even in the same house, even.
and our traditions have a tendency to revolve around that. Then we all started to migrate out and we travel in. Obviously, we've been heavily impacted by travel and what's gone on with COVID around that. And last year, we didn't really get to travel.
Yeah.
It was a very unique year, and I think that stepping back last year has impacted people this year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I think it can be a very joyous time because it is a time of celebration of love.
Right.
The people you have in your family, celebrating the people around you professionally that you work with, because we're with those people so much of the time.
Right.
And then just taking the traditions that mean the most to you. Yeah. And I know I'm not going to try to do everything this year. I was thinking last night, I'm like, Oh, I haven't even thought once about making cookies. Christmas cookies. And it's
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm not going to make Christmas cookies.
Yeah, things have to be, I guess, maybe compromised. I mean, I hate to use that word, but I mean, it comes a time where you have to go figure out, okay, what is really, really important? And, I mean, we live in a very, very commercial country. I mean, our society is extremely commercial, and, our economy depends on us being commercial and
Yep.
spending money.
Yep.
And I think we sometimes lose sight of what is really under the foundation of the idea of spending money. Of course, the economists want us to just go and spend money, just buy stuff because we need the money to propel us forward, right? So it can tax you more. But I mean, you touched on the important thing, which is the idea of love. It really is, regardless of whether you have money or not. I mean, I grew up, in a very, immigrant family. We didn't have a lot of money when growing up, and I used to make Christmas gifts for my siblings because I didn't have any money. But the idea was really not even the idea of buying anything, is just sharing something and just being together. And I think, God, that was so many years ago. And over the years, we kind of tend to lose that. And with the diaspora that you talked about, everybody's separated. And I'm here, and my family is on both coasts. So it's not always easy to travel and see them. But I mean, even just the idea of connecting, I mean, obviously through text and phone calls and all that kind of stuff. But the idea of really Jen, if she was here, talked about the idea of love. That really is the foundation of, and the idea behind Christmas. I mean, it's the love of Jesus, his birth, and that really is the basis of celebrating this. And somehow, it always, for me anyway, looking from the outsider in, that central core idea and the feeling is always sort of swept aside. That's the last thing people think about. It's always, okay, what kind of gift are you going to get? Or are you going to get a new iPhone? Or are we going to get this or that or whatever? It's always the material thing. And so that's kind of what really kind of got me started thinking a lot about, okay, where are we? I mean, not only for myself, but also as a society as a whole. And where are we, and all the things that have been happening with, with the vaccines and the mandates and all those things that are imposed on us, eroding our freedom every day. And how do you actually hold on to the core value of things that make, living and being together important,
It's the people in your life.
Yeah.
And it's the love that you generate. Love is not a feeling. Love is actually an action.
Right.
So it's a verb. And so you can generate love anytime you want to. And money, you can generate money. And the only thing you can't generate is time. Time is infinite. So I always look at those as three really important resources to create love in your life, good health in your life, and good wealth in your life, as time, love, and money. So work, I think, is very important for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's critical,
Well, I think
critical.
it's very important for health, because I think when you're working, those stresses of what it takes to work is good for the brain, because you're tapping into all the different areas of the brain to do it.
Yeah.
What I've noticed, I'm segueing off of Christmas, what I've noticed when people retire and they don't use all the areas of their brain, then their health actually declines.
It does, yeah.
And their
It
satisfaction
atrophies.
in life declines.
Completely.
So I think Christmas is a time of celebration of love and health, the people in our lives. And it's also Jesus being born. I was raised Christian, so I respect that. I have studied many religions and Eastern religions, and I have an immense amount of respect for each religion. And inside of each religion, there is that aspect of that spiritual guide and spiritual teacher and universal truths. And so in my world growing up, being raised a Christian, the birth of Jesus was really a rebirth of what was possible for humanity. And so I look at Christmas as, what's really possible in terms of humanity. And I just hope and pray that everyone has good humanity in their family gatherings.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, we talked about that. There's variations, let's say.
Because sometimes it doesn't work out so well.
No, it always doesn't. Somehow when the gene pool gets mixed, somehow a couple of things kind of go a little awry. But that's just part of the miracle of life, I suppose. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it really is not to be, obviously, with Christians, and, we're talking about this, but the idea of love and sharing and being part of the humanity, whether it's be Christian or Eastern religion or any other types of religion, hopefully that is a central idea that kind of, binds us all together. But somehow, I mean, there are actually forces, they're using these things to divide us. I mean, look at the persecution that the Christians going through in other parts of the world, and vice versa,
Yes.
and what's happening in China in terms of the
Uyghurs.
yeah, I mean,
and
just horrendous things because of these kind of different philosophies, and so hopefully that we as peace-loving people can use these ideas to bring us together rather than divide,
Yes.
because the forces to divide are just constant. It's unrelenting.
Yes.
Every
It's-
day. It's just
yes.
unrelenting.
The triangle of government, big corporation, and corporate media, that triangle, the negativity that we're being hit at from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed is just, it's overwhelming. It is overwhelming. And it's what, when political systems go awry,
Yeah.
that's what happens. And there's all this talk about, it's because of the pandemic. And actually, it's not
It's
because
not
of the
pandemic.
virus.
No, it's not. It's our
The
reaction
virus
to it.
hasn't actually destroyed her life.
No, it's our reaction to it.
It's our politicians, it's our corrupt politicians, the corrupt political system, it's the corrupt corporate media,
Yeah.
and the corruption of big corporate interests. It's that triangle that's destroying. That is the pandemic. It's the bad policies.
It really is. Because
Yeah.
the virus by itself, I mean, there have been viruses throughout whole human history, much, much worse than this.
Yes.
And that didn't, destroy the humanity and the human species. And now here we are, we're purposefully, knowingly trying to divide people and destroy lives and the idea and take away the freedoms and literally cage people with
Yes.
these ridiculous mandates and, stipulations to live. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable how quickly this has happened.
Yes.
And I just heard, that's where was I reading it? Maybe it was YouTube or somewhere, that de Blasio is going to do a blanket mandate before he leaves on December 27th for all private businesses. They're already bad. This is like one of the worst places in the world in terms of the restrictions of how you live, but he's going to make it even worse before he leaves.
I heard about that mandate
it's just
today.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I'm from New York. I lived there. I grew up there.
Yeah, we all love going to New York.
Exactly. Now it's one of the most ridiculous, depressing place when I'm hearing things like this.
Yes, and so, going back to the Christmas season, how do we take all of this negativity that we've been bombarded with, and it's being blamed on a virus?
Yeah, right, exactly.
But it's
Which is
not the
created
virus.
it was man-made virus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the leadership that people elect into
Yes,
positions that is causing all the problems.
Yeah.
Because as, human beings, if you've ever had young children, and their language skills, they're like, me do it.
Yeah.
We're all me do it machines.
Sure.
Human beings want to be independent, self-directed creatures. That's how we want to live.
Yeah. And that's how we thrive.
And that's how we thrive.
Yeah, and I think the history, I mean, that really is the main core that has driven the United States to be what it is.
It is.
But now it's being squashed to go
By-
back the other way.
Yeah.
By the other forces from the outside, and you can talk about what those forces are. But I mean, the core energy that has driven the engine of the United States to be what it is, and still is, but hasn't completely turned away yet. They're trying very hard, unbelievably hard, to turn it off and even reverse it and be destroyed. But I don't know. I hope there are a lot of people out there who are thinking about some of these ideas, what is really, really important to be living in this country and have that freedom that really doesn't really exist anywhere else, and what it means and how precious that is,
Yes, it is.
and figure out some way to hold on to, the positive energy and the force that allows us to keep that and fight for it. And I don't know, that's the kind of stuff I'm thinking about. It's not fun things on in a holiday season.
No, it's not fun things, and people don't like it. And
Yeah.
so when you listen to politicians and they're promising something other than that, the thing to remember is that you are the one to create that.
Exactly.
You are the one to create that. And my hope for this Christmas season that people come together as family, friends, and community and stand up for what they believe in, and bring that magic of love into the Christmas season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that thing is the only way to be. I mean, I don't know how else you can move forward. I think it's kind of interesting because we went through a couple of elections and we all think about, well, it's only one vote, so what does it matter if I vote or not vote? And it was just unbelievably self-defeating attitude. And some small elections like the little city elections, 30 or 40, 100 people show up. It's unbelievable. And a couple of votes here and there will determine a course of a city or the municipality. It's how important that is. And I really haven't voted in a lot of the small elections because I never really realized how important they are. But now, having gone through this whole thing with politicization of medicine and health, I realize how critically important it is to actually be involved in every election at your local level, because that determines your larger county level, which determines your state level, which determines your national level. I mean, the connection is so clear. It's not even that far off.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things I really want to try to work on next year is to maybe increase awareness of the importance of voting for the stuff that's happening in your backyard. People have no clue what's happening.
So what people don't realize that with school districts, it's the school district that runs, they're the ones in charge of their school district. They get some money in some direction from the state. They get some money in some direction from the federal government, but the majority of it is your property taxes and your school board running the district. So yes, you do want to
It
get
is so
involved.
critical. You have to really know what people are running those boards and what kind of kind of decision they're making for the education of our children.
I almost think that this push for consumerism, and as a financial person and an economic person, and a history person, I do understand that 70 to 80% of our gross domestic product is related to consumer spending, and that is a product of the 20th century, and that it's important that we do go out and spend money, but the main thing I think is people have to get engaged with their lives and what values that they have. People are not powerless.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, Dr. Lee. I think people feel powerless coming into this season. And then questioning, gosh, if I put all this tree into decorating and baking cookies and buying presents and all of that, is it really going to make a difference? And I think at a certain level, it's sounding hollow to people to go through those motions when we feel unsettled.
Yeah.
And I think this is a time of rebirth. It's a potential time for rebirth for all of us as citizens in our community to engage with what's really important.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think
We
I
all
think
have the power in this country.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, you're exactly right. I mean, I think it can be very hollow and become meaningless because, I'm just going to spend money, buy some gifts, and that's nice. Thank you so much. It's great. And then what? What is the meaning behind all this? And that's the kind of stuff that we've been talking about. But I think if we really embrace the true meaning behind gifts, why are we doing gifts? What is the meaning of that? Is it from the Magi, the three wise men came and brought gifts to Jesus? Is it flowing from that idea of giving gifts to somebody, right? Or is it just sharing with people that you love? And I'm sure there's probably different levels, and it's probably true of both. But I think if you kind of hold on to the idea of, okay, what really is important underneath all the commercialism, what is underneath truly important, if you understand that, hold on to it, that's what gives the stability. And I think it all starts down to really one person. I mean, a community is made up of individuals. If individuals are weak, the community is weak.
Yeah.
But if individuals are strong, then the community itself will be strong, and from there you grow forth. So I think it really still comes down to reflecting, because we've been through a lot, both individually and as people, and think back and say, okay, I mean, yeah, we're all little tiny little pieces, but what does all that mean? You know, how important or unimportant is one piece? You know, we all talk about this all the time. You know, yeah, one twig, two twigs, sure, it's not very strong. You put 1,000 twigs together, you can't break it. I mean, so yeah, the twigs are important. We each as individuals are critical, because without it, you know, each of us, there's no community, there's no city, there's no nothing. And so I think it really is time to sit back and say, okay, yeah, I am one person, but I'm very important. And I have a power, I have a voice. And it is time to go out and exercise that voice. You know, I think so many people have been suppressing their voices for fear of retaliation and whatever.
Yes.
And I think it's time to start taking that off and say, okay, enough's enough. We need to start going out there and speaking, you know.
Yes, and everyone does want their voice heard.
Yeah.
That is just the very basic nature of being a human being, regardless of age.
Exactly. Age, you know, race, background, whatever. It's just all part of the individual drive to have that your identity of who you are and what you are validated and then expressed and interchanged. Otherwise, then you're nothing, you know, and then nobody is nothing. Everybody is something. And so I think that's the kind of things I think you have to individually embrace and take ownership and find true meaning and value and strength from that. And hopefully that'll give you strength to be able to say, yeah, this is, you know, what I think, what I believe, and this is what I want to do. Even if it's a quiet voice, doesn't you don't have to sit there and scream and yell, but if you have a voice, thought, or, you know, support that with your actions of, you know, being involved in the communities and, you know, voting or whatever, or teaching, I think that's where it really, you know, comes, and that's how you start making some changes. You know, yeah.
And I think we're all teachers. We all have people around us that we teach.
Right.
And I think we all must take that role on and teach.
Yes, exactly.
Now, I have one really nice little story about how to manage Christmas presents
Okay.
with the children.
All right.
I remember this was shared, my daughter is 19 this year, but I remember this was shared with me when she was just a little toddler.
Yeah.
That Jesus received 3 gifts from the
Yes.
3 wise men.
Sure.
So we trained our daughter from the time she was little that she could make a long list, right?
Yeah.
She'd mail it to Santa Claus. Mommy would make a copy secretly before it got mailed. And so she grew up understanding that she would receive 3 gifts
Yeah.
from her gift list.
Yes.
And I think that's a very stressful part
That's
of
very
Christmas, and that's a really nice way
Yeah.
to manage
Sure.
the Christmas gift left. And then Mommy would take that list and send it off to all the relatives.
So she ended up getting more than 3 gifts.
Yeah, well, she got 3 from Santa,
Yeah,
but then she would get, 3 from Mom and Dad.
Oh my God! So wow! Talk about I don't know, fulfilling childhood.
But it's not like there were 6 iPhones or
Yeah,
anything
right, exactly.
like that. Yeah.
Well, at that age, I mean, there are a lot of different
Yeah.
things. But that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
You can't have everything you want. I mean, unfortunately. you
Yeah,
know.
so choose
But you
3.
can, but you can get a lot of what you want if you play it right. You taught her well. That's good.
And we just
Oh,
naturally
that's
apply it
interesting.
to us too.
Yeah,
It's like, well,
yeah.
I've got 2, I need one more.
No, one more. Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Well, one day we'll talk about this, the idea of the force of the 3. You know, the idea of 3. There's always 3. You know, like 3 wise men or 3 choices, or when you have, you know, even the impetus of, you know, having certain patterns of speech or thought. There's always a 3. You know, it's kind of interesting.
And, design elements in a pattern of 3 is always very intriguing.
I know it is.
Yeah, not 1, not 2, but 3.
Yeah, there's that pattern in music too. So during development and certain exposition of certain musical ideas, the composers will do 1, 2, and then third one will be the major one that kind of blossoms a couple of ideas that were presented in the first 2. So there's always that kind of pattern of compositions and playing and things like that.
And we all operate well inside of boundaries.
Yes.
And all of a sudden that becomes this really nice boundary where it makes gift giving fun.
Sure, I know.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So anyway, I think our time is kind of coming to a close. It's about half hour, and so anyway, I think we're just going to wrap it up and wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. This will be our last broadcast for a while, and certainly for the rest of the year anyway. And we might pick it up back in January or something like that. But so that's another reason I think I wanted to spend a little time talking about wrapping things up in terms of what we've been through over the past year or so, moving forward, and putting a nice bow on it, if you will, so we can take our lessons and move forward. But so Jens, I don't know if you're watching. If you are, I hope you're doing well, and we miss you. And I'm sorry you weren't here, because we could have really talked a lot about your ideas of love and mindset and all the kind of things we talk about all the time in terms of how all that would have come together and certainly would have impacted, I think, all of us moving forward. But we'll be talking to you, of course, individually and together. Anyway, so I want to wrap up and wish all of you wonderful holidays and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to everyone, and happy holidays to all, and Happy New Year coming up.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us for this episode of Love and Health in America. Dr. Doohi Lee, Mary McMahon, and Jens Johnson are committed to help you achieve a life full of love, health, and abundance. Please join us in our next episode as we share another facet for you to optimize love and health in your life. Until next time, love deeply, live richly, and stay healthy.